it looks like some people, someone like the chairman House Committee on Banking and Currency, Mr. Jones, Onyereri, he said something quite different. I'll give you a quote of what they said at a public forum in Lagos. He says, quote, "The core function of the CIBN is really on the monetary policy matter. The House is critically looking at how the CIBN could take up the supervisory role." So he's saying something quite different, saying that the CIBN is to look at the monetary policy issue, CIBN.
Yeah, I think
sorry, the CBN rather.
Yeah.
And he was saying that CIBN should take it up.
Like I said, the CIBN cannot do it because of the fact that they won't have the resources to carry it out. And
what do they lack for you to say they don't have the resources to carry it out?
Yeah, because their source of revenue is just subscription from members. And it takes an average of 3 months to conduct a bank examination properly. And it costs a lot of money. CIBN doesn't have the resources. And in addition to that, it takes years to train an examiner. And CIBN doesn't have the structure to do that right now. You know, and if you look at CIBN, yes, they are also like an ombudsman. When there are disputes between bankers, they can come in. You know, and that is moral suasion. They don't have any enforcement power.
That's the CIBN.
CIBN, they don't.
What if the National Assembly
empowers them,
identify these challenges, empowers them, and then they have those powers?
Yeah, yes, the National Assembly can pass a law, but operationally it will be very difficult because all these banks have their accounts with CBN. So that control is there. And CIBN will not have that access. You know, and in addition, CIBN will not be recognized internationally. There are some places the CIBN cannot enter. For example, central banks meet all over the world to discuss supervision. The CIBN will not be allowed to go in. Really.
Even if our law
even if we pass it here.
Why not?
Yeah, because there are some links that all these central banks have. And CIBN may not be able to key in. So it is a law that will be dead on arrival once it's passed.
What if we look beyond CIBN and say, okay, well, let's have an independent body different from CIBN, empowered by law to look at issues like this, so that we can now say, okay, CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, doesn't have the powers anymore to go through all of that process. Won't that be an okay thing for us to do? And by the time we go all out, maybe outside the country, to such meetings and summit, we'll be allowed to sit with others from other parts of the world.
Yeah. Really is the best thing that will happen to this country if that is allowed. You know, to break up the CBN into two. Leave a different body to supervise the banks and they concentrate on monetary policies. You know, and because they have so much on their hands now.
That's the CBN.
The CBN, yeah. So much on their hands that their duties suffer. And that is why you find all these banks going under and it's as if nobody knows what is happening.
So, in other words, if we get in you, it means that the plate is so full to the extent that some of these banks escape the radar of the CBN in terms of properly being checked.
Yes. Now the problem is this, because if you examine a bank, it may take another 2 years, 3 years to go back there.
To examine?
Yeah. And which a lot of water will have passed under the bridge.
All right. No. Okay. It doesn't. You're not saying it takes 2 years. You're saying if you examine a bank, it takes another 2 years for you to return to that same bank.
Exactly.
And in that period, a lot must have happened.
A lot must have happened. And since we normally look at historical activities, and that is why this risk-based supervision came in, that instead of looking backwards, look into the future, you know, and we are very slow in keying into that, you know, and that will help a lot, because examination now will become risk-based. That is, you look into the future. What are the risks this bank is likely going to face, and so on and so forth. And it is really better for a new body to be set up like what you have in the UK. You know, FSA is different from the Bank of England, you know, and they carry out their rules very well. You know,
do you fear the CIBN? Sorry to cut you there.
Yeah.
Do you fear the CIBN to cover up because they are members and they know what operates? But again, it will also give them an idea of what Bank ABC will be doing because they are also bankers.
Yeah.
So at least it will give them an insight into some maybe possible shady dealings that operates in some of these banks. But do you also fear a cover-up if we finally say they should be in charge?
Yeah, there is an incestuous relationship because it's the same bankers now that are in CIBN. So if you ask them now to supervise themselves, I don't think that would be proper. It's better an independent body does that, you know, to report objectively on their activities. And in the past, the CIBN, most of the bank executives were members of CIBN. And look at what they did to the banking industry. And if you allow them now to be in charge, then it's going to be a mess.
But the CIBN Act of 2007, number 5, talks about sanctioning erring bankers. So does that mean that they don't do that, even though it's required by CIBN Act?
Yeah, they do that because except you're a member of that body, that is when they can sanction you. If you're not a member, if you're a bank worker, not a banker, then what happens?
You're not mandated to be a member of CIBN?
No, no. You find some of them even rising to become bank executives and they're not members of CIBN. So many of them. So they have to start from there to make sure that they take charge of the professional development of the banking industry.
Why does it,
that aspect? Yeah.
Why does it have to take 2-3 years after you examine a bank before you go back there?
Yeah, because it involves a lot. You know, like I said earlier on, it takes like 3 months to examine a bank. For the report to come out, maybe another 2 months. That's 5 months, and it's so expensive to conduct an examination, and it's also disruptive to the activities of the banks. You know what it means. Once the auditors come, then everybody is uneasy. And you have to call for a lot of documents and you have to ask a lot of questions that answers must be provided by the banker. So it disrupts their activities.
So within the industry, do they know, let's go with your word now, do they know that there are bankers and bank workers? Do they appreciate the fact that within them there are bank workers and bankers?
Yeah. The CIBN actually has not emphasized that. You know, because like I said earlier on, it's an all-comers affair. You have medical doctors in banks in Nigeria, engineers in banks.
And it might interest you to note that some of these people actually come out as better professionals in that same industry than those who actually went into studying core banking.
Sure.
So why can't they be called bankers?
They can't be called bankers because there is a law in place that says except you pass the CIBN exam, you cannot become a banker.